And what capacity were you attending the meeting?
No. He was actually calling on me because I'd assisted his wife to go to, the wife and children go to Sweden.
In what capacity were you meeting Museveni? Because she had left you when? She said, oh, actually Museveni was calling me because at that time I had assisted him and his wife go to Sweden.
Oh, and there were some other Ugandans that I helped also to go to Sweden.
So there were more personal relationships with them?
Well, he wanted to thank me for what I had done for the Ugandan people.
He wanted to thank me for what I had done for the Ugandan people, for Janet Kataha Museveni. That's how she ends up in that office. It's not meritocracy.
But the Ugandans had a terribly difficult time in the time that I was with the UN, and people were sometimes being kidnapped and then put across the border.
You understand the kind of hard times we had then? People were being kidnapped. Welcome to Museveni's Uganda. People are kidnapped in broad daylight. There are videos. She has no value. I don't care whether she's black, white, blue, red, what, I don't care. She has no values. She's not committed to any principles. If she says, oh, Uganda had very hard times then, because people are being abducted. It is happening right now. Show us that you stand on those principles and values. Call out the continued abduction and kidnapping of innocent people. And yes, indeed, presenting to you from these United States of America, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you're watching me and at whatever time you might watch this conversation. My name is Mordecai Murisa, and you're welcome to Mordecai Murisa Live. Exactly. I immensely appreciate all of you folks who are watching in, who are tuning in from wherever you are, especially Uganda and across the world. And let me make this speech for once and for all. Please go on and consider subscribing to our feed, Mordecai Murisa Live on YouTube and Mordecai Murisa Live on Facebook. No, actually, Mordecai Murisa on X platform, on Twitter and Facebook as well. I'll truly, truly appreciate. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we look at what's going on in our motherland, Uganda. As you all know, the EU Parliament, the European Parliament last week summoned Uganda's ambassador to Brussels, Mirjam Blaak Sow, to respond to allegations of, they're not allegations, these are really realities of human rights violations. The abduction, torturing and killing of innocent Ugandans. And Uganda was so quick to respond through the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Okello, Oryem, saying, we are not going to appear before them. I think I need to show you that story. Let me show you that story, then we can go from there. But what I want to show you in this conversation is how Uganda's ambassador to Brussels, Belgium, really landed that job. Let's watch this story, then I'll explain further.
Story tonight. The European Parliament has summoned Uganda's ambassador to Brussels to respond to allegations of human rights violations during the 2026 elections. The meeting, scheduled for Monday, the 23rd of February 2026, that's next week, will also be attended by the leadership of the National Unity Platform. In response, the ruling National Resistance Movement said that having been on ground during the elections, it is important for the party to have an input into the matters raised by the National Unity Platform. NRM says they would like to have a copy of the response from Uganda's Ministry of Foreign Affairs for an input into a response to the European Parliament. Meanwhile, members of the European Parliament say they remain committed to supporting a peaceful and prosperous society in Uganda, to work with all relevant stakeholders to achieve this. They called on the Ugandan Authority to guarantee the possibility of a safe return, physical integrity and freedom of movement for Robert Kyagulanyi, as well as to ensure due process and an independent investigation into the arbitrary arrest and detention of Dr. Sarah Bilete, the Executive Director of Center for Constitutional Governance.
All right, you get the point there. They summoned them and the Ugandan government was like, okay, we've listened to these allegations of human rights and, we want to have an input. And it just took, I think, a blink of an eye. And they were so quick to be like, no, we're not going to appear before that. I think I need to show you that story more of the guy, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Okello, Oryem, said, no, we're not going to appear that. And he insinuated that Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, alias Bobi Wine, is going to be charged with treason against Uganda.
Okello Oryem atutegeezezza nti minisitule y'ensonga z'ebweru w'eggwanga ne gavumenti okutwaliza awamu si bakukkiriza mubaka wa Uganda eyayikiddwa kugenda gye bamuyise.
Whether I receive it or I don't receive it, I'm going to give it. It is not important. But what I'm telling you, it will not happen. My ambassador will not be appearing.
That disturbs me really. My ambassador is not your ambassador. He's ambassador of the state of Uganda.
We are not giving Kyagulanyi the pleasure of a Ugandan ambassador sitting next to Kyagulanyi at any platform. Kyagulanyi has committed treason.
Kyagulanyi has committed treason. He says that.
He's going to betray the good names of the people of Uganda to those Bazungu out there. So we will not.
So you get there. He said, no, we're not going to appear before the EU Parliament. Kyagulanyi committed treason. I don't know. Now, it's so funny if you are having that type of a dictator that really embodies itself, surrounds itself around one man, Yoweri Museveni. What happens is uncoordinated information that comes from different angles of the same government. I'll give you an example. You had Chris Valiomus saying, you know, Bobi Wine is safe, he can return to his house, nobody's searching for him, only for Mohozi to post on his social media platforms and say, we are hunting him, we want to arrest him, we want to kill him. That's what he said. And now you have the first response from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs saying, oh yeah, we would like to have our input. And then this guy, Okello Oryem, saying, no, we're not appearing before it. And now he goes on to charge Kyagulanyi Ssentamu Robert with treason. Imagine that. There's no proper channel under which they can all have the same voice regarding the same issue. They're uncoordinated, but that's not a surprise to me. That's how they've always been, because there's a desire to create some sort of a facade where you look at them as Democrats or liberal. They want to put up this persona. Oh, see, we care. We actually understand that, we have to listen to both sides. But that's just lip service. When you go in Uganda, they say, Botuka ku ground. When you get to the ground, really it's a different thing. But hey, now let's go and look at this lady, Mirjam Blaak Sow. Those are some sort of exchange on X platform where many Ugandans were asking under what capacity did this lady specifically end up becoming an ambassador of Uganda to Brussels. Actually, somebody wrote and said, we are more than 50 million Ugandans, but none of the indigenous Ugandans is fit to be UK ambassador in Belgium, according to dictator Museveni. Now, I want to be categorically clear here. I don't care the color of your skin, as long as you're Ugandan. So I don't have any problem. They can be black, brown, red, yellow, whatever. I don't care, as long as they're Ugandans and they really have the interests of the Ugandan people at heart. I don't care. But that doesn't take away the fact that we have to scrutinize the circumstances under which these people end up in these positions. Because you'd wonder, how are they able to defend the image of themselves in regime? And now we can actually come to a conclusion that, it's not very easy for a dictatorial regime to stay this long unless it has some faces it sends to the West, to the international community to do its bidding, to carry water for it, to shield against our criticism and accountability. And these are the two ladies and many more who are sort of telling lies, who are telling lies to the West. Oh, Museveni is a useful dictator. Oh, those are lies. All these people that have been killed, those are lies. Don't believe what you see with your own eyes. Even when all these videos are posted on social media, don't believe that. These are the faces they send there. Actually, you have Thomas Tayebwa, the deputy speaker of the Ugandan parliament, says, you'll be shocked to learn that they are among the best performing ambassadors. I have worked closely with both of them and they have our country at heart, more than many indigenous Ugandans. Why do you have to say that? It is unfortunate that we can judge people based on their color rather than their contribution to the transformation of our beautiful country. Keep making our country proud, ladies. You have our unwavering commitment, or support. That's what he said. And it was Daniel Kauma, who happens to be the president of NUP in the diaspora, said these ladies, he actually posted this and says this was shortly after Thomas Taebwa again wrote about these two ladies. These ladies are Ugandans. Ambassador Nimishi was born in Busoga. Ambassador Mirjam made a contribution to the liberation struggle, married one of our Bush war heroes and became a Ugandan. So these are Ugandans representing Uganda. No doubt about them being Ugandans, but I don't think they're representing the interests of the Ugandan people. And actually then he was able to quote him. Daniel Kauma said, made a contribution to liberation struggle, was the CV of the former CEO of Uganda Airlines. Until meritocracy becomes part of our national vocabulary, our nation will continue to struggle. Rightly so. And of course, meritocracy and Museveni regime cannot be in one sentence. Like I've always said, those are oxymorons. Museveni will replace Apollo Nsibambi with all his faults. I mean, turning a blind eye on the lawlessness and the criminality of the Museveni regime. But all that aside, Museveni will replace Nsibambi with Nabanja. No offense, Nabanja. Museveni will appoint Tamale Mirundi and a few others to be his advisor. Tamale Mirundi alongside Jennifer Fulfigure and Butcher, man. So you understand, he doesn't really care about meritocracy. Surrounds him so far with minions or obsequious foot soldiers who are complete yes men. But hey, ladies and gentlemen, let's go and listen to how this woman ends up in that position of ambassador of Uganda to the Brussels. Listen here.
President Museveni.
This was a few years ago when she was being interviewed. Listen to how she ends up having this job.
Museveni at that time was a guerrilla leader. He was That was the second coming of Obote.
And she's talking about the 1980s. She was working with the UN, and Museveni at that time was a rebel leader. Okay.
Yes, after Amin's period. Amin was ousted in 1979, and then Obote came back. And the elections did not go very well and honestly. So then President Museveni decided to fight a guerrilla war, and he was the leader at that time.
Honestly, what's honestly about a man who was the last abysmal performance in the 1980, who decided to launch a war? Oh, but honestly, he didn't have to do that, because in the end, he's presiding over the same things he claimed he was fighting to end.
The national resistance movement, yes, and
then?
And then, there was Obote was indeed ousted in July '85, and in that period, by that time I was no longer working with the UN because I had worked there for 3 years, and I decided to stay in Kenya. And I became a consultant, marketing and legal consultant, representing Dutch companies in Kenya and in Sudan and in Tanzania. So I was traveling the region. But the Ugandans had a terribly difficult time in the time that I was with the UN, and people were sometimes being kidnapped and then put across the border.
You understand the kind of hard times we had then? People were being kidnapped. Welcome to Museveni's Uganda. People are kidnapped in broad daylight. There are videos. She has no value. I don't care whether she's black, white, blue, red, what, I don't care. She has no values. She's not committed to any principles. If she says, Uganda had very hard times then, because people are being abducted. It is happening right now. Show us that you stand on those principles and values. Call out the continued abduction and kidnapping of innocent people.
In Kenya. So then I had to really take care. Sort of the refugees had my telephone number in their pockets. Like if they were picked up by police, I don't know how many times I had to go to police stations and try and find out whether some Ugandans had been detained.
Why are you not doing this? We can provide you names. Winibi Anyuma, the wife to Dr. Chiza Besigye, asked the Secretary General to the National Unity Platform to provide her with a list of victims of lawlessness through abductions, torture, and death. She thought she was getting a list of around 50 people. Over 600 people were being abducted. Many tortured, others disappeared. Up to date for years. If you really stood on these principles, it is going on. It is happening. Why are you not raising your face, you lady?
Then they would be, charged with illegal entry or legal stay in in Kenya, and I had to, of course, rectify that.
Rectify that as a consultant? I had to rectify that. I mean, you're looking at a face of a power broker, a dealer, an opportunist. I had to rectify that. How do you rectify that? You are just a mere consultant in Kenya from Netherlands, right? Oh, I had to rectify that.
So indeed, I had to assist a few refugees.
Was that in your capacity as a
protection officer?
From the UN?
From the UN, yes.
Then later you became a marketing consultant to Russia?
Yes, that was my own company. I started to set it up.
How did you get involved with the NRM then?
How did you get involved with the NRM? Listen.
Yes, well, during the period that I was working for the UN, of course, there were already many sympathizers of the movement, and there were other movements, other fractions who were also fighting the Obote government. But I believe that the National Resistance Movement was the most serious one.
Why?
And I believed in their principles, and so when Obote, now, the second time that he was in power, he was ousted by another military leader called Tito Okello, and that is when Museveni came to Nairobi, and then there were peace talks, which were actually chaired by the former President Moi of Kenya. And that is when I met President Museveni, well, the guerrilla leader at that time, for the first time.
And what capacity were you attending the meeting?
No, he was actually calling on me because I'd assisted his wife to go to, the wife and children go to Sweden.
In what capacity were you meeting Museveni? Because she had left UN. She said, oh, actually Museveni was calling me because at that time I had assisted him and his wife go to Sweden.
And there were some other Ugandans that I helped also to go to Sweden.
So there were more personal relationships with them?
Well, he wanted to thank me for what I had done for the Ugandan people.
He wanted to thank me for what I had done for the Ugandan people, for Janet Kataha Museveni. That's how she ends up in that office. It's not meritocracy.
And because I had been so closely involved with other embassies, he asked me to establish some contacts for the movement. So it's at that time that I started working with those ones who were in the external committee and making contacts.
This is all, she's showing you how she's completely a power broker, an opportunist. So Museveni was looking for, I want to thank you because you helped take my children to Sweden and my wife. Now I will give you a gift. You are an ambassador.
With the various embassies, especially.
Okay, let's go here. It's a complete prato, and I don't want to stress you with all that. Let's go in and listen to here where she talks about these values that she stands on. I think it was around here, around here.
Representing Uganda here in.
But what attracted you to the NRM?
What attracted you to the NRM? That's the question. Listen here.
I think it was, their ideas, their objectives were very basic and very genuine. You know, basic in terms of bringing back human rights. Bringing back human rights, So if you really believe in those ideas, what happened, Mirjam? What happened? The human rights of people are being trampled upon. If you really believe in this idea of the NRM, it's not in Uganda, sorry. And giving people peace and security. This is something that had been lacking, as you know, during the Idi Amin period, and then Obote too, then there was... I want to be the bearer of the bad news, you, Mirjam. Museveni is worse than Idi Amin, Dada, and Obote combined. He's the true manifestation of evil, devil himself. Because for Idi Amin Dada and Apollo Milton Obote, they committed crimes and they denied they were shameful for these crimes somewhere. But Museveni has a son who boasts, who gloats in the abduction of people. Museveni has warned, we shall crush you. I'm the master of violence. We shall kill you. My soldiers have guns that each gun carries 120 bullets.
So if you are attracted to the ideas of respect to human rights and treating people with respect and kindness, Museveni is not doing that, especially to his political opponents.
Some other, presidents then, so there was no security. And people had no confidence in the future, and they were ruling by the gun. So that is.
They were ruling by the gun. Okay, welcome to Uganda.
That's why I think bringing back peace and security, and then uniting the country with.
And you mentioned that there were more guerrilla groups involved.
Yes.
Why did you choose the NRM then?
No, I think they were the most serious one. The others were small, and then they were joining, making some liaison with the others, the alliances, and then they're breaking away again. And really, the NRM had a system going. They were,
disciplined.
Yeah, they were disciplined, extremely disciplined. Mm-hmm. And of course, the only thing was to build up Uganda.
Okay, I mean, you can go on and I'll show you here. You can watch it on, there's a X platform page called Human Rights Defenders. It is 15 minutes. You're going to go on and watch an opportunist, really, a liar, to say the least. She doesn't believe in all these things she says. Respect human rights, peace and security, bringing people together, unity. This is what I was standing for, the NRM. No, she's an opportunist. She got a job. That's what she wanted. And now she continues to defend the Museveni regime. I'll show you here. Blaak Sow Mirjam, Uganda nominee for election to the board of directors for Trust Fund for Victims of International Criminal Court. International lawyer for 30. I mean, professional legal mediator with excellent negotiating skills. You see? This is what she does. I will show you here. I mean, this right here. Professional legal mediator with excellent negotiating skills. What they mean is that when she says when it says professional legal mediator with excellent, it is selling you a lie. She's able to create a defense for a regime that is indefensible. That's what she does. And I think I wanted to show you something here. I think I saw somebody on Facebook was able to identify this, and they pointed it out for me. I'm going to ask you to, if you can, go on and confirm this information. Somebody posted and said, let me read you here. It says, this ambassador of Uganda to the Netherlands, Belgium, is also permanent representative to the ICC for the past 23 years and counting. Wonder why ICC has not taken Uganda's plight seriously? She's the one here, and it shows here. Uganda's permanent representative to the International Criminal Court from 2003 to date, 2026. So now you know why we still have all these questions of why the ICC is not acting. It is because Museveni has placed stooges in these international bodies that would look and question, held to account, those that violate the rights of the Ugandan people. So I'm so glad that, internet is here. We are able to dig deep and know. So continue doing this God's work. Expose, bring out all the receipts. I've seen a number of Ugandans are posting on their social media platforms with videos, attaching videos of the Museveni atrocities and tagging. I think I need to show you here. Please go on and copy all these. I see here there's somebody who tags International Criminal Court, the EU Parliament, the African Union, and all of them. If you could, every time you make a post, just go on and copy all of these and post your videos and your opinions, tagging all these people so that we expose the Museveni criminal regime to the world. Because apparently, he's placed all his... And of course, this shouldn't come as a surprise. It's not easy to be in power for this long while you abuse your citizens' rights and you're not going to be brought into question by international bodies or even the West. Absolutely not. But that's not possible because we have opportunists like this Mirjam lady, Blaak Sow, who is profiteering from the suffering of the Ugandan people, from the oppression imposed onto the Ugandan people by the Museveni regime Museveni and his minions. It is sad. But in the end, this will come to an end. In the final analysis, I think I saw a gentleman was giving advice to Bobi Wine and telling him that, hey, what you got to do is keep fighting. I'm going to play this video and then I'll close this conversation. Where did I see this? This gentleman who was advising Ugandans to fight, keep fighting. Okay. Yeah, it's right here.
Hello, I'm Phil Benyon. I'm Vice President of Liberal International. I'm at the Geneva Summit for Human Rights and Democracy, where Bobi Wine is going to be bringing us his words this afternoon. I met him here 3 or 4 years ago. We've met several times since in Africa and in Europe, and we wish him all the best. Of course, we know the situation in Uganda is very difficult, and that the regime is not following allowing free and fair elections. So we wish him best for the future and keep the fight going, because eventually you will win through. So this is my words to you, and I look forward to hearing Bobby this afternoon.
Yes, and what message do you have for our President Bobi Wine in particular?
Yes, what in particular is to keep the fight going, because you will win in Uganda in the long term.
Exactly. In the end, in long time, the Ugandan people are going to have the last laugh. We have to keep fighting. We have to keep pushing. Do whatever you can in your capacity. And little actions by little actions, they will be added up. And it will bring that Museveni's criminal regime crumbling down like a house of cards soon or later. All right, let's wait to see what's going to be coming from the EU Parliament today, where we expect this lady to appear before the EU. And if she doesn't, what is the EU Parliament going to do? For now, my name is Mordecai Mlisa. Please stick around. See you later.
Did you enjoy what you just watched?
I'm sure they did.
I'm going to guess that you did. How about you consider subscribing to Mordecai Marissa Live YouTube channel? Thank you.